Welcome to CFOs in Motion, presented by CFO Intelligence with your host, Andrew Zezas. Dynamic and direct one-on-one interviews with CFOs and executives from enterprise and middle market companies. And now, here's your host, Andrew Zezas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CFOs in Motion, where we bring you interviews with accomplished and insightful CFOs at middle market and enterprise companies. I'm your host, Andrew Zezas. It's great to be back with you again. As you know, we're pretty selective about who we invite to participate in CFOs in Motion interviews. Today, we have with us a highly accomplished and diverse finance and strategy executive, an active participant in CFO Intelligence, one who's attended many of our in-person events in Chicago, and the CFO who will appear in the cover story of the upcoming issue of CFO Intelligence magazine. A longtime friend, Scott Settersten, Chief Financial Officer of Ulta Beauty. Now, after you watch today's episode, if you'd like to learn more about our guest, Scott, about CFOs in Motion, or about CFO Intelligence, please contact me at andrew.zezas@cfointel.com. Now, here's some background on Scott Settersten. He's been Ulta Beauty CFO for almost 10 years. Ulta Beauty, traded on NASDAQ under ULTA, has fiscal 21 revenues of more than $8.6 billion. It's the largest U.S. beauty retailer and the premier beauty destination for cosmetics, fragrance, skin, and hair products, and salon services. Ulta Beauty operates more than 1,300 stores across 50 states and also distributes its products through a thriving digital platform, and we'll learn more about that today. Scott oversees Ulta Beauty's core accounting, finance, tax, treasury, risk and control, FP&A, and investor relations activities, as well as the company's procurement, loss prevention, and real estate functions. He's pretty busy. He also plays a key role in developing and driving Ulta Beauty's strategic and M&A focus. Scott also serves on the board of directors and is the audit committee chair for Kimball International Inc., NASDAQ KBAL. Kimball's a leading omnichannel commercial furnishings design and manufacturing company with deep expertise in the workplace, health, and hospitality markets. Scott, it's an absolute pleasure to see you again, to have you join us here on CFOs in Motion. I always enjoy our conversations. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good morning, Andy. Nice to see you again as well, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Glad to have you. Scott, let's jump right into our conversation. Ulta Beauty is an incredible company, and you've accomplished some really great things there. I imagine you're having a lot of fun.
Well, it's extra fun when the business is performing well, and so we're in a great spot today. So yes, I am enjoying myself more than usual these days.
Well, I hope you get a lot more of that. Given what's going on in the world, there are supply channel problems and other very significant challenges. Ulta's net sales for the first quarter of 22 jumped 21.3% to $2.3 billion. That's tremendous. And more customers have joined the Ultimate Rewards loyalty program. How did you do that given what's going on in the world?
Well, we, as you can imagine, are very happy with the strong start to our fiscal 2022. And so again, despite all the turmoils and disruptions and uncertainties that we've all been dealing with, the beauty category, once again, has kind of demonstrated its resiliency, right, in spite of all those kinds of things. So again, we're in a very unique position. Beauty is not immune to all the negative things that are happening around us, but it does perform relatively stronger than other parts of retail under these kind of conditions. So I would also say that part of our performance, the overperformance, both on operating and the financial end, is due to our good planning and execution, right? So again, all that is part and parcel of what we do here every day and what the finance function does to help support the business. I would say regarding the loyalty program, so again, that's a very important ingredient to our secret sauce. As you probably saw, again, we have over 37.5 million active members in our Ultimate Rewards program, and they drive over 95% of our total sales. So again, very important part of the mix overall, and something that our team spent a lot of time focusing on, and continuing to innovate and enhance that program to ensure that we stay what I would call best in class in the retail space. So very important to our business.
Scott, can you repeat that number? How many people in your loyalty program?
Over 37.5 million at the end of the first quarter. So
Wow.
again, the growth, we saw some growth again coming out of the COVID situation, right? People are back shopping and engaging, especially in our category. And so I would say the growth that we saw in the first quarter, which was outsized, is largely due to people coming back into our physical stores, right? And engaging with our beauty loving associates where they get a chance to hear more about the benefits and the reasons why they should be part of the program.
Wow, that's tremendous. That's tremendous. Now, in doing the many things that you do at Ulta, you helped lead the company to an omnichannel approach.
Mm.
And now the consumers are actually coming into stores and have been doing that for many months. Do you expect that the company will continue to grow its online engagement? And if so, what will drive that?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny how the pendulum has kind of swung back and forth here over the last 10 years, right? I'd say, back in the 2012, 2013 timeframe, um, as retailers in general, us and all of retail kind of recognized the acceleration of the consumer moving to more of an e-commerce or digital kind of shopping experience. We were quick to get on the investment cycle, right? Investing in capabilities to enhance our websites, our digital apps, building more distribution center and supply chain capabilities to help meet the demand. And so we immersed ourselves in all that. And of course, Wall Street, you probably remember, pretty skeptical, right? That old guard retailers were going to be able to compete with the new direct to consumer models that were out there and starting to dominate the space. And so I'm happy to say, we saw during the peak of the pandemic, we were fortunate that we were able to make those investments, and they were very timely in that we, as what I'd call a discretionary retailer, we were forced to close our stores back in March, April, May timeframe back in 2020. And so we were able to quickly pivot over to being a 100% online or digital only kind of business. And so that really helped, mitigate a lot of the pressure that we were feeling, because again, nobody would have ever imagined us having to close stores, with an unknown kind of target date in mind. And so that was a pretty scary period of time, I would say. So, us and other old line, retailers, I guess I could call them, learned our lessons, were able to pivot. And now we see, with additional capabilities like buy online, pick up in store, or curbside services, or ship from store kinds of capabilities, that now as we kind of exit the COVID cycle, that we're seeing the pendulum kind of come back the other way now. And retailers, not just Ulta, but many, top best in class retailers are really making the most out of these new capabilities and delivering not only increased revenues, but also improved profitability, right, through some of these additional capabilities. So, we've said before that we believe brick and mortar is an important part of our business, super critical, as is the digital piece. And so we plan our business to grow both of those channels as we look out over the longer term.
So with all the trends between digital and in-store, how does Ulta forecast consumer trends? Like, for example, the move to prestige cosmetics.
Yeah. So what makes Ulta Beauty kind of unique is the wide range of our assortment, right? We go across price points, high to low. We carry all kinds of different products from mass to prestige in all different categories: hair care, skin care, makeup, and services inside of our store. So our merchants are primarily in charge of or focused on identifying new trends, right? They're out there scanning the horizon around the world, seeing what's going on with consumers and in beauty regimens. And so they, you think about runway shows and the entertainment industry and all the social media influencers, and of course our vendor partners, right, who do a lot of R&D and try to keep up with trends as well. And so they take all that information back. We huddle up with our vendor partners to kind of figure out how we bring that to life and how we can bring it to market to satisfy consumers' appetites for those kinds of things. And then, try to bring it to life, in our stores and online. So there's always something. That's a great thing about our category. There's always something. There's the seasons changing. There's the influencers changing what's hot now. So that's something that really keeps the category and our business dynamic. Very
So
important.
to that end, in terms of staying on top of trends, I've noticed that Ulta does an incredible job in balancing investment in new products, supporting existing products, those that have been winners, and bringing in new products. Tell us about that, and specifically, how does finance play into that effort?
Yeah, so what you just described there is really, I'd call the heart of our business, right? Is the assortment, making sure you have the products and services that consumers are looking for. So, it really comes down to collaboration between the core teams there that are working on these kinds of initiatives and objectives. As I just mentioned, the merchants are charged with going out, right, and finding, identifying newness, right, to bring to our business, and working with a lot of different third party data points there to try to determine what that is. Of course, they bring that back then and kind of determine what it is, how it's going to be presented in the store, fixturing and displays and marketing and awareness building kind of activities, determining what the economic terms are going to be when they're dealing with our vendor partners. And then they get support. So here comes the first part of the collaboration with our merchandise planning and inventory teams, or MP&I teams. And so they work with the merchants to figure out, okay, how much of this can we sell and what kind of profit margins can we make? And how are we going to make the math work on that part of it? And then the MP&I team then hooks up with the supply chain team to determine what the product flow is going to be. When's it going to be shipped? When's it going to be receipted? How is this going to flow through our network out to the stores? The allocations there, because not every store, right, operates just like other stores, right? You kind of have a range of productivity there. And then how much do we keep for the digital channel in our business? And then we kind of pull it all together. So our FP&A team, we have individuals identified for each step in that process as we think about the profit equation here. And their work, so they work with the merchants, they work with MP&I, they work with supply chain to figure out what the cost, you might call it cost of ownership or cost to serve, it's described different ways, but we figure out what the profit equation is going to look like through each step there to make sure holistically we understand, what this decision is going to mean for us. And of course, as we're adding new products to the assortment, we're also thinking about products that we're going to remove, right? Because we've got a limited amount of space and we want, our objective is to try to make that space, whether it's in a store on a shelf or in our distribution centers on a shelf, as productive a space as we can possibly make it. So I'm proud to say our FP&A team is viewed as a real key contributor to the strategic success of the company and is recognized by all our senior leaders as a real value add to the process.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. It's apparent that your online business is very essential in the context of the overall enterprise. How's the company identified ways to get closer to its online customers?
Yeah, I would say a misconception by many is that there's, that online is some special pool of customers. You know what I mean? It's not really the case. I mean, the way we see it, an online customer is every customer, right? I mean, our mindset as an omni-channel retailer, and I'm sure this is prevalent, is every transaction, whether it's in the store or on a digital platform, is in some way influenced by our digital assets, right? People, they research, they're doing their due diligence, they're looking at tutorials, they're trying to get informed. Again, social media plays a big role in what people are interested in and what they're looking to purchase, right? So that's the way we think about our business. So it's a long pathway from picking up your phone, right, and looking at an advertisement, or maybe we send you a loyalty email, or they see a video somewhere on a TikTok platform or Instagram, and then they try to figure out where they're going to find that product and purchase that product, right? So it's an end-to-end process here. And we are focused on all the different steps in there, right? So for example, our website or our app, as they're looking through Ulta, like how do we make the navigation easier so that they can find the products quicker, kinds of things? How do we bring more information so that they can educate themselves about the products, right? So we're adding things around ingredients, right? Or health conscious kinds of things, or are these products animal tested or not kinds of things. We might be thinking about loyalty information and how do we serve that up easier and take, friction out of trying to figure out how many points or value they've accumulated and when they can redeem points and things like that, or how much they have in their wallet. We might think about things like augmented reality, right? Like virtual try-on, which is a very important part of our business and is, in a lot of retail, but beauty especially, right? You can see color on your face, your lips, you can look at hair color, you can do a lot of things through augmented reality. We work on things like AI. And think about ways we can serve up complimentary products to people as they're shopping or getting ready to check out on our website or our app, right? And there's a litany of things like payment options for people, right? You might have heard of things like buy now, pay later, which is a big trend now, especially with Gen Z shoppers. So there's a lot of different elements to how we think about the journey, the purchase journey, and how we engage more closely with our guests to make it easier for them to shop with Ulta Beauty.
I seem to remember that when I was a young boy in the 60s, they called it layaway.
What's old is new again. You're absolutely right, Andy. We've been around too long, I'd say.
So let me ask you, as online becomes such an important part of retail and certainly the digital aspect of Ulta Beauty's focus, are you concerned about the 800-pound gorillas in the digital world, Amazon, Walmart, and other companies?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is the beauty category has always been very competitive. I've been in it now for well over 15 years, and it's always been super hyper competitive because it's dynamic, it's a growing category, and it's got a healthy margin profile, right? So everybody's trying to get into beauty one way or another. We say you can purchase beauty products in over 60,000 locations on any given day in the United States, right? So that gives you a sense for the scale here. So again, we compete with mass and drugstores, we compete with department stores, we compete with big box discounters, of course, all the specialty retailers, and then all the direct-to-consumer platforms that are out there as well. So yes, competition, we watch them all closely. And keep close tabs on developments and what we should be thinking about as well in our business, right? There's always enhancements occurring there. And so, but our focus is playing offense. We know our model works. We've been successful for a long period of time. We know how to connect with our consumer. We believe we have better customer insights than most all of our competitors do. And so we feel like, we need to be aware, we need to keep pace, but as long as we focus on our offense, we'll be in good shape. As far as the ship immediately or same day shipping kind of thing, again, that's just another option for consumers, like Uber versus their competitors, right? There's a proliferation of things going on in the marketplace right now. Again, take friction out for the consumer friendly kinds of things. And so same day shipping is not something that everyone needs or everybody wants, and it kind of depends on the category and what the items are. And so again, we're focused on making sure we're meeting expectations for our guests.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned big box and mass retailers. Ulta's got a partnership with Target. Can you talk a little bit about that and share with us, will there be other partnerships with other mass retailers?
Yeah, so we're very excited about the Target relationship. Again, the Ulta Beauty at Target, some might call it a shop and shop kind of concept, was launched late last summer, 2021. And again, it's beyond the shop and shop concept. So it's a very curated assortment of some of our best products, right? Ranging different categories and price points. And again, it's not an effort to replicate a full Ulta inside of a Target store. That's not what we're going after. And so that's why we believe it's more innovative than similar kinds of concepts we've seen over time. And so it's an opportunity for us to build awareness inside Target. Again, they've got, I think, more than 30 million shoppers inside a Target front door every week in the United States. So it's a great opportunity for us to stay top of mind to our guests, Ulta Beauty shoppers who also shop at Target. There's no surprise there. People love Target stores. And it's an opportunity for us to introduce our brand to target shoppers who maybe don't know anything about Ulta or what we offer, right? Or what an experience could be there. So the whole notion is to get to engage with shoppers inside a Target. And, there's a service component there too, a beauty advisor to help guide the shopper inside the store, and to get them linked up with our loyalty program and to get them to connect with us in a full line Ulta Beauty shopping experience at some point, right? So that's the virtuous loop we're looking to build. And it's still really early. We're just, I don't know, maybe about 200 stores worth now, with more coming in the years to come. And we believe over the long term, it's a great awareness building activity and will lead to stronger sales for us again over the long term.
Very, very creative approach. Talk to me, Scott, about Ulta's new UB Media initiative.
Yeah, so media, retailers and media, this is not necessarily a new concept. So this has been developing now for the last couple years. And so some of the big guys like the Amazons and Walmarts and Targets and others have dipped their toes and have kind of built pretty significant businesses around this concept of media and marketing on behalf of vendor partners and others. So for us, again, this was something we announced last year at our Analyst Day. We just kicked off here within the last couple of months. So it's a way for us to bring to the value of our first party data, again, over 37.5 million loyalty members that we have deep insight into, right? What they buy, what their habits are, what the trends are as they shop across all the categories in our store. Again, we're in a very unique position. Nobody knows beauty like Ulta Beauty. It's all the categories, it's all the services, all kind of under one roof. Nobody else does that in the beauty space, right? So lots of competition, but nobody does exactly what we do. So it's a unique position for us and for our vendors to get insight into how people are, shopping and what they're interested in reviewing. So we kind of play the middleman, right? So again, you've probably heard those old jokes about, marketing, like where 50% is productive and the other 50% is kind of like a black hole, right? Because it's hard to measure television advertising and some of the other deployments that you use in a marketing campaign. So what we bring to the table is a more measurable, it could be more personalized because we know who's shopping, and how all this internet, the tracking and cookies is making it a lot more difficult now. And that's one of the elements, the variables, the fact that, we're doing away with a lot of that. So it's tougher to track people and where they're navigating across the internet. So we can hook it up to our loyalty program data. We can see how they're shopping at Ulta Beauty. And we can also look at other third-party platforms and kind of see what the traffic trends are. And we can serve up advertising. So think about little mini vignettes or videos or, placement banner ad kinds of things, on all kinds of platforms, third-party open platforms like Instagram and YouTube and places like that, as well as our own digital assets, right? Our website, our app. And so we can bring to bear the advertising marketing materials of the vendor. And then again, another virtuous part of the cycle here is, and then we can help direct the shopper back to Ulta properties to transact on those beauty products, right? So it's kind of again, it's important. It's a win-win situation. And that's the way we always think about our business and doing business with our vendor partners, is it's got to be good for both of us, or it's not going to work over the long term. So again, we feel like we're in a very unique position, and this is something that's really going to be a driver of growth for us in the years to come. Absolutely.
So everything you talk about you've spoken about so far has to do with not only the people who are your customers, but the people in your organization and how much you rely on good people. How, as CFO, are you coping with what every great company is coping with today, the ability to attract and retain great talent?
Yeah, well, we're not immune, like everybody else, I'm sure that's listening to this, is grappling with the talent people issues that have, come about through the course of the COVID disaster, I guess I'll call it, right? So everybody's kind of reassessing the work status, how they think about health and safety kinds of things, how they think about their career, versus their personal life balance, where they want to live, right? What kind of weather they want, right? Everybody's thinking about life in general in a little different way, and so we've had to deal with that just like everybody else. I would say our culture has really helped us kind of weather the storm, maybe better than some others. Stretching way back now, the culture focus of our company has been right at the top of the list. And so our engagement scores have always been upper quartile, across a wide spectrum of businesses, even higher versus other retailers. And so we've always felt really comfortable and good about our position there. The leadership of the company, people they believe in the mission, kind of what we're all about, what our mission of the company is, and how we go about taking care of our business, how we treat people. Along those lines, what we did, how we reacted during the COVID crisis, and how we took care of our people, again, I think is a chip that played to our advantage here as we're, dealing with some of this disruption now. We're balancing wage pressure like everybody is, right, in this environment. So we're managing our way through that, but just listening to our people, like what's the most important thing to our associates right now. And again, it's workplace, right? Flexibility on where I do my job, right? So we're trying to be really open-minded about how we manage our way through all that, making sure we can drive the business, but also provide as much flexibility to our people as possible. Career development is still super important to people, right? Whether they're physically next to you or not, right? How do I grow my career? They're thinking about the teams they work with, making sure they get recognition for all the good work that they're doing. So again, it's not all about the dollars and cents. It's still about people and how you take care of your team. So we're focused on that. I'd say, the talent we're looking for is talent everyone's kind of looking for, right? You're looking for data and analytical capabilities. You're looking for digital capabilities. We're looking for IT specific kinds of skill sets. We're looking for PMO folks that can help us. We got a lot of large scale IT projects that are in process right now. And so all of that kind of leading to, the future of retail and how we operate our business. I'd say generally speaking, the talent pool's good. It's deep. We're finding the people that we need to add to our business. But it's taken longer, again, no surprise, it's taken longer to recruit and cultivate and onboard people. And then, of course, the cost is going up, right? Like it is for everybody. So that's just another variable we have to deal with.
Yep. Cost and everything going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tie back, if you will, your ability to attract and retain to Ulta's short-term and long-term growth plans.
Yeah, so we were forced, just because of the cycles we were on, to go back and update our long-term plan last summer at this time. We were in the throes of it. And so that was a pretty difficult undertaking because of all the uncertainty, right? Even back then, we were kind of talking about, economic maybe slowdowns and pullbacks and those kinds of things. So we went through the process last summer, and we had an analyst day last October where we updated investors on how we were thinking about the future of the company. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, of course, we're a growth business, right? And we expect to continue to grow both our brick and mortar channel of our business, maybe 50 or so net new stores every year is what we expect to see here the next few years. And we expect to have healthy growth in our e-commerce space as well. Even after cycling over spectacular results, right? 2020, we 2x'd our e-com business versus 19. That's a big leap ahead. And then 2021 was strong too, as we started kind of coming out of the depths of the COVID situation. So we're lapping, anniversarying, cycling over some pretty big numbers, but we feel like our model is stronger today than it was pre-pandemic for a lot of different reasons. Part of it being that the whole channel shift thing and the pendulum kind of swinging back situation I described earlier. So we feel good about our long-term outlook for the business. 2022, there's still a lot of uncertainty. Again, I'm sure you're keeping up on the news headlines, as we all are, about the inflationary pressures and interest rates and all the other things happening here. So we're just taking what I'd call a prudent approach to expectations for the second half of the year, because again, nobody really knows how the consumer is going to react, right? When is enough, or when, after the vacation cycles are over here at the end of August and kids are back in school, it's like, what's reality going to look like in September and October? That's a big question for all of us.
Are there, given what's going on, let me say that differently. Obviously, Ulta is an incredibly resilient brand, and the business model is incredibly resilient. But like you said, what's coming, it's an unknown, it's uncertainty. Are there any things in particular that are in front of the company? Inflation, sourcing, supply chain, energy cost, wage pressure, geopolitical issues. Are there any things in particular that the company is focused on more than some of the other issues that companies are focused on?
Yeah, I'll take answer D, all of the above, right? I mean, this is the question that all CFOs I know are grappling with these days, right? I talk to a lot of them. And so every one of those variables you mentioned could impact consumer shopping patterns and consumption patterns, right? And so that's the question is, when does the food prices, the gas prices, I mean, even we in the beauty are passing along price increases because the vendors, the cost of making the products is going up, right? And so it just kind of becomes a question of when and how much kind of thing. So it's occupying a lot of mind space these days for me and many of my colleagues here. So I would say, we, Ulta Beauty specifically, retailers go, Saturday closest to the end of the month kind of thing. So we're just getting ready to close out our second quarter here this coming Saturday. And so we're off kind of to the races. We've reset our sales outlook for the second half of the year. And now we're working through the rest of the P&L variables here. And so there'll be a lot of scenario analysis, what if this, what if that, what, kinds of things. And then what if the worst happens? What do we do? What levers do we pull to kind of adjust the business here? It's hard to know how consumers are going to react at any point in time. There's a lot of different outlooks on what's going to happen, right? Like risk of recession, how impactful could it be? How long could it last? Kind of thing. And so there's a wide variation in outlooks. And you look at the economists, and the banks and what they're thinking could happen here in the second half of the year or early 2023. And so, yeah, it's hard to know. There has been a trend here. Again, you don't ignore the signs. I would say, there's been a spat of recent downward earnings adjustments from well-known retailers here recently, Walmart and Target and Bath and Body Works and others. And so that's something that we're seriously considering, right? Like the flow-through impact on our business from some of those headlines. And so, the one thing Ulta Beauty has, so we're fortunate in some ways, is, we get a scorecard every day. We get a dashboard that tells us how our business is doing, how the consumer is reacting to things, right? So every day at 9:00, I know what the sales were the day before, what the selling margin was. And so that's a comfort to kind of have real-time information on how your business is reacting. The beauty category itself is resilient, as I mentioned, right? So consumers, there's a replenishment element to it, right? People use up shampoos and sunscreen and things like that. They have to buy more. And then, so there's things they need, and then there's things they don't necessarily need, but they want, right? This comes back to the fashion, the runway, the newness, the season. So, makeup, the new lip color, whatever it is coming. So that's something unique that we have that a lot of others, especially in the retail space, don't necessarily have. So we're in a really unique position. And, we've been through some tough times in the past. And so we know what to do. We know what muscles to flex. And so we just need to be prepared to take action.
Wow, Scott, that's tremendous. We're coming down to down the home stretch on our interview, and I really just have one more question. Given all you've done at Ulta and your previous background and the things you do outside the company, there are CFOs and future CFOs who will be watching this show. What advice would you give to those folks, whether they're current CFOs or potential CFOs, about how best to drive growth in times like this?
Yeah. So I talk to a lot of CFOs in a lot of different forums. And I don't think it's any secret to long-serving, successful CFOs that, the core job requirements. So that laundry list of things you read as part of my introduction here, the accounting and finance, the treasury, the tax, the investor relations, risk and control kinds of things, that's table stakes. You're expected to be a subject matter expert and to deliver excellence on each one of those pieces every day, no questions asked, right? And so that's just getting a seat at the table kind of thing. What the value that a good CFO brings is, finding a way to be part of the strategy and the value creation drivers of the business, right, for the long term. And so, driving a successful growth strategy, which of course people are a big part of that, right? It's not just all the X's and O's, what has to be done necessarily, but how you pull your teams together to execute against that. And so, the one thing specific to myself that I would say has worked well over time is I always think of myself as a general manager first and a finance person second. That's how I see myself and describe myself. So when I'm in the strategy meetings or talking about a new business endeavor or an M&A opportunity, it's always where I put the finance hat in the pocket, I put the general manager's hat on my head, and partake and think about the business and help ideation as though I'm one of the functional leaders of the business. And how are we going to drive growth and try to optimize the business overall, right? And then when the proper time comes, I put that hat away on the shelf and I put my finance hat back on, because now I'm the expert and I'm going to help develop the algorithm, what, sales and margin and capital allocation implications are from these decisions or potential decision points. And then I guess the super important part is pulling that all together into a simple story, right? Again, complexity is the evil of all good things. And so boiling it down into a simple storyline where the qualitative part of it, the general manager part, and the quantitative part of it, the CFO part, kind of fits together nicely. And it's easy to explain to your associates, to your board members, and most importantly, to investors, right? And so that's the recipe that's worked for me for a long time and made me a successful CFO here at Ulta Beauty.
Well, apparently it's worked well for Ulta as well. Scott, your insights about Ulta Beauty and your accomplishments at the company, they're all incredible. All I could say is congratulations on a truly great story. And congratulations on Ulta Beauty's success. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, your insights, and for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Andy. It's been my pleasure. Happy to share. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you as well for joining us on CFOs in Motion. If you'd like to know more about Ulta Beauty or Scott Settersten, visit the company online at ulta.com, ULTA.com, or stop into one of the company's over 1,300 stores. Now, if you'd like to learn more about CFO Intelligence, or if you'd like to be considered for a CFOs in Motion video interview, please contact me at andrew.zezas@cfointel.com. It's been great visiting with you today. Scott, thank you again. I'm Andrew Zezas for CFO Intelligence and for CFOs in Motion. We'll see you again real soon.
Thanks for joining us on CFOs in Motion, presented by CFO Intelligence with your host, Andrew Zezas. If you have an interesting topic that you'd like us to discuss here on CFOs in Motion, or if you've got a great CFO topic that you're passionate about and would like to be interviewed on this podcast series or published in CFO Intelligence magazine, visit CFOintel.com. That's CFOINTELL.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast series on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been CFOs in Motion, presented by CFO Intelligence with your host, Andrew Zezas. We'll see you next time. The opinions and views presented on this podcast by Andrew Zezas are his own and may not be relied upon as fact. The opinions and views of others who appear on this show are their own as well, and may not be relied upon as fact or for any other purpose. Opinions and views and other information are provided for general information and educational purposes only.